You know how sometimes things don't appear like they really are, or like things appear differently, I should say, than they really are. So when I talk to women, which happens every day, by the way, about what they're struggling with, they'll tell me like, I want to lose weight, I want to feel better, I want to get healthy, right? And I always, I'm like super curious about what that means for one thing. I mean, like, duh, I know what it means that you want to lose weight. That's not what I mean. It's like, but what does that really mean? Right. So I'm curious, like, why do you want to lose weight? What's going on? Why do you want to get healthy? What does that mean? And, some people might think, well, duh, why wouldn't anybody want to lose weight if they don't feel well? Or why wouldn't they want to get healthy? But hear me out on this. So I want to get to like what's going on underneath some of those sort of almost expected statements about, well, I want to feel better, I want to get healthy, and not only get to what's underneath those expected statements. And I say expected because I think we're all supposed to want to feel better. We're all supposed to want to be healthy. And so they become almost like these pat answers. Well, of course I want to be healthy. So I want to get to what that really means underneath there. And I want to get to what that means to you, because I really think that feeling better means different things to different people. We don't all truly have the same exact goal in mind when we say we want to feel better or we want to get healthy. So that's part of how this conversation comes about when I talk to women. But it goes further because the deeper we get into the conversation, the more I hear about how not feeling good and how not being or feeling healthy is affecting you, like in these detrimental kinds of ways, right? And so women will say things like, well, I don't have the energy. I don't want to go out with my friends anymore. And here's a big one. My husband and I are, or my partner and I are like roommates. We don't really have a closeness like we used to have, or we just are kind of like ships passing in the night. We're just cohabitating, and life has changed. Our kids have gotten older, and there are all these sort of complicating kinds of factors. But sometimes the more I question, the more the reality comes out of that conversation, and some of the emotion also comes to the surface. And I hear things like, I can't even stand to hear him breathe. Or another one I commonly hear is, I can't stand to hear him chew, or just him being around me and him breathing makes me sick. Now, that may sound drastic or sad, or you may say, well, there are all kinds of things wrong there. This isn't about your health. But bear with me a little bit, because women tell me this all the time about how they can't stand just the normal kinds of survival functions in their partners. And when we start working together and they start working in our 12-week coaching program on their physical health and their emotional health, this amazing thing happens. They all of a sudden can tolerate their husband's breathing or chewing again. Just in the last week or so, and I've had this happen before, but just in the last week or so, a client said to me when we were talking about all of the progress she had made in our 12-week coaching program. And we were looking at, where she was when she first started the program, what kinds of wins, what were like her biggest progress markers from her perspective, where was she still struggling? And one of the things she said to me was, I told you that I could not stand to hear my husband breathe when I started this program. And she was like, our relationship has done a complete 360. And I hear things like this when women get to the end of our coaching program all the time too. So on the front side, I hear, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthy. We dig in, I can't stand for him to even breathe around me. on the back end, I've lost weight. I feel so much healthier. I feel so much more energetic, but I'm also so much more happy in my relationship. Our marriage is happy, or in this case, it's done a complete 360. And here's the thing. When we do not have a healthy relationship with ourself, when we stand in the closet and we cry, when we look in the mirror and we criticize our appearance, we hate the way we look and feel, when our internal critical voice screams at us about how horrible we look or how horrible we feel, or how how did you get yourself back here again? Or how did you get yourself here to begin with? We cannot tolerate other people very well either. And that includes, and I would argue even most, especially the people that we love the most, we get so much more irritated, so much more easily irritated, and our irritation level goes to an extremely high, like max, to the point that we can't stand for them to even breathe around us. And again, I think this can happen with any relationship in our life. We can't tolerate being around other people, but it's the relationships that we are closest with, the people we should be closest with, that suffers the most when we get to this point. So I'm going to keep this kind of brief today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to argue, just like I do with my clients, I'm going to propose and argue to you and make the argument that if you want to improve your relationship with other people, most especially those who you dearly love in your life, your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, if you want to improve that relationship, and I'll keep it focused on your partner, your intimate partner, then you need to work on you. Now, I'm not saying that there's nothing, quote unquote, wrong with your partner, right? I'm not saying it's all your fault. I'm not saying, oh, you should take responsibility for everything that's not just peaches and cream in your relationship. But I see this with women in our MRS program all the time. The self-compassion that they learn to develop and they show themselves really, as they work on their physical and emotional and psychological health, it begins to quiet the negative critical voice in their own head about themselves, right? And that self-compassion begins to kind of open the door and make room for having a more loving disposition, perspective, being more loving toward other people in their lives. And, let's face it, if you're at the point you can't stand to hear him breathe, it might start with you just being able to tolerate his breathing, right? It may start with you laying next to him at night and him snoring while you are trying to get back to sleep or fall asleep for the first time, and you not envisioning smothering him with your pillow. I joke to some extent, right? Because it really can get to that point where you feel like your relationship is broken. And again, I would argue that when you start to love yourself more, you work on yourself more, then you can open the door to loving other people more. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you a couple of things I want you to do. Just like take me up on this challenge. Like say, oh, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And here's what I want you to do to try to prove me wrong. Start working on your physical self. Do not worry about him. Like just put all of the irritation that he brings to your life on a shelf for just a little while. Start focusing on you and start with the physical. Look at how you're eating. How could you make just a couple of minor changes, even really, in your nutrition? Maybe it's having breakfast in the morning and not waiting all day to have your first bit of fuel in your body, right? Maybe it's cutting back on the drive-through. Maybe it's cutting back on all the super high calorie, sugary Starbucks drinks each week. It can be just a couple of changes in your nutrition that help you to eat better and, like make yourself healthier. And you might even drop a few pounds. Start doing that. Cut out Cokes, do whatever. Move a little bit more. I'm not saying go sign up at the gym with a trainer. I'm saying work on your physical self by making a few changes in your nutrition, moving a little bit more, thinking about how far you park from the store, all the things you hear all the time about getting some movement in. Take a couple of walks, during the week. Give yourself 30 days, just 30 days. Hell, start with a week. Give yourself a week to 30 days. And I guarantee you this, if you will stick to a few changes to work on your physical self, to improve your health physically, what you're going to notice is that your mental and emotional health improves. You're going to notice things like your inner talk will change in a more positive way. You're going to feel better physically. You're going to have more energy. You're going to sleep better. You might, like I said, even drop a few pounds. And as you see those things change just with yourself, I 100% guarantee when you do that, your relationship with your intimate partner will improve too. Just try it. Try to prove me wrong and see what happens. It happens time and time again. Hell, it happened with me on a multitude of levels. Roger and I have always had a good relationship, but little things that would irritate me when I wasn't feeling good about myself don't irritate me at all. And in fact, I would go a step farther and say, we have a closer bond because I'm happier with me. And I will even say that over time and with consistency, my quest to be healthier, first physically and then definitely mentally, led to him being more physically healthy, more emotionally healthy. And therefore, when both of us saw the benefits individually, together as a couple, we were much better. And I'll save this for another episode, but I'll drop a little hint here too. It's not just about your physical partner. I was able to tolerate things at work, put them in perspective. I was able to de-stress about things at work, and people in particular, that whole situation like de-escalated for me. So I would love to hear from you if you resonate with any of this, and definitely let me know if you will try to work on your physical health a little bit and just give yourself a chance. If you're going to do that, message me. I'd love for you to review the podcast, comment on these episodes, and most especially I want to hear from you personally. So drop me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, send me an email, write a comment under this episode. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I hope you find this helpful.